بالجود يداي الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيد كسرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير ما حاجة بي إلي عظيمة وقناك عنه قديم وهو عندي كثير وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي وصفك عن ظلمي وسترك على قبيح عملي حلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطعمني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجب منك الذي رزقتني من رحمتك وأريتني من قدرتك وعرفتني من إجابتك فسرت أدعوك منها وأسألك مستانسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا مدلا عليك فيما قصدت في إليك فإن أبطعني عتبت بجالي عليك ولعل الذي أبطعني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلم أر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي يا ربي إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك وتتحبب إلي وتقمز إليك وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك كأن لي التطول عليك. فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إلي والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك فارحم عبدك الجاهل وجد علي بفضل إحسانك إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله مالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمي بعد علمي والحمد لله على عفوي بعد قدرتي والحمد لله على توناناتي في غضبه وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإسباع ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجم تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادل ولا شبيه يشاكل ولا ظهير يعزل قهر بعزة العزة وتواضع لعظمة العظماء فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أناديه ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا أسيء ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطاني عظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني، وبهجة مونقة قد أراني، فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك إجابه ولا يخلق بابه ولا يرد سائل ولا يخيب آمل. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين ويرفع المستضعفين ويزع المستكبرين ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف الآخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين مؤتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانا وترجف الأرض وعمارها وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق ويرزق ولا يرزق ويطعم ولا يطعم ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وسفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم صل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول العالمين وصي رسول رب العالمين عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى ونبي العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين. صل على سبتي الرحمة إمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيد الشعب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي وججك على عبادك ومنائك في بلادك صلاة كفيلة دائمة. اللهم صل على ولي أمرك الغائم المؤمل العدل المنتظر وأوفوا ملائكتك المغربين أيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعل الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك استخلفه في الأرض كما استخلف الذين من قبله. مكن له دينه الذي ارتزيته له وابدله من بعد خوفه يمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم اعزه وعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم اظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة الكريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهلها وتذل بها النفاق وأهلها وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والغادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فأملنا وما غسلنا عنه وبلغنا. اللهم مل به شأفنا واشأب به صدعنا وارتق به فتقنا وكثر به غلتنا وأعزز به زلتنا وأغن به عائلنا واقض به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به يسرنا ويميز به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وأنجز به طلبتنا وأنجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا وآتنا به سبلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا وآتنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا واذهب به غيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا وصل على محمد وآله وعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تؤجله وزر تكشف ونس تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. for شفای مریض، سلامتی زور آقا امام زمان صلوات.
AV team, could you please put the slide on for sponsors? I guess the slide will come on in a few minutes. Let me finish with the rest of the announcements. Dua Nukba every Friday, 30 minutes before Jummah Salat for the month of Ramadan. Parents and children, again, reminder, please make sure your children are with you at all times. Center security, again, as you all know, and I want to keep on reminding you for the sake of safety and security for everybody here, especially on the ladies' side. that the ladies' entrance, the double door wooden entrance doors, will be closed 1 hour after the program starts every single day. So those ladies who do want to enter from that side and coming after that first hour, they'll need to come to the men's side, and there will be a security person there to let you in, and you can just take your shoes off and walk into the ladies' side through the double doors. Please keep that in mind. It's very, very important. There we go. Tonight's program has been sponsored by Bande Khuda for the Saleh Sawab of all marhumin in the donors' families. May I kindly request all of you to please recite Surah Fatiha. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Also, tonight's Tabarruk is also generously sponsored by Bande Khuda for the Saleh Sawab of all the marhumin in the donor's family and all marhumin. May I request you to please recite Surah Fatiha again. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is something important for you to please pay attention to. The program for the whole month of Ramadan is out on all the social media and all the keeping connected, and also on our website and also on our app. However, some people are still not aware that we don't have iftar here for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. There's been questions about it, although it's been publicized everywhere for whatever reason. So please do look at the programs. You'll find it on your WhatsApp group if you're a part of it. It's on our website. It's on Keeping Connected. It's almost everywhere. So people did turn up thinking there'll be iftar today. Unfortunately, there wasn't any. So just let people know who have not or don't have the access to it or don't know how to read this or don't get the messages. Please let each other know that we don't have iftar here on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. There will be tabarruk. There will be chai after you finish in the foyer, but no iftar for those days. And there will be iftar on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday if there is a bigger night like Wafat of Bibi Khadija or Kushal Imam Hassan and all that. So please keep on looking at the programs and try to follow that. We keep on updating it. I will also remind this message tomorrow as well. We've had a recent, some people come on, especially in Ramadan, there will be people who are in need of money. They come in on the outside, they'll come inside asking for money. Please be very aware of that. We are willing to help out as a committee and the community. If they do ask you for cash, please make sure to direct them towards the executive, any member of the executive or myself, and we'll be happy to help them out through our social committee. Handing out cash, you haven't vetted the people out, so we have to be very careful of that. If there is anybody approaching you, please direct them to us, and we are more than willing to help them out. We do vet them out to make sure that they are deserving of that contribution there. With the loudest of salawat, please recite 3 times to welcome Shaykh Nabil Awan.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ملعونين. Amma ba'd, for the happiness of Hazrat Az-Zahraa Marziyah, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who is Rahman and the one who is Rahim. We have reached our fourth lecture on this journey to uncovering the realities of dua and how it is that we can achieve that spiritual transformation in these nights. And if you've made it this far to the fourth night, congratulations. You are what is known as the Khasul Khas. You know, generally within the religion, there are moments of sieving. There are great sieves that happen throughout time. And many of them will happen towards the end of times. One of the great sieves that I would argue was COVID. There were many that would attend the masjid before COVID regularly. Following COVID, now they're nowhere to be seen. They've got used to watching at home, sitting down with a cup of tea with their feet up to watch the majlis. And even during COVID, there was an opportunity, there were those who tried to find a way, but for others, it was the perfect excuse to not do that which they dreaded all the time. So there are these various sieves that happen throughout our lives, various things that occur, and only the khasul khas, only the best of the best remain, the creme de la creme. And so as the nights go on and the iftar reduces, you will see that numbers will fluctuate. People are attached to different things in this dunya. You know, Amir al-Mu'mineen, when he talks about one of his companions that he calls his brother, he says that, I, Ali Khan Ali Mother Akhun Fillah. I, Ali, used to have a brother in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And why is it that he, Ali alayhi salam, is referring to him as his brother? He says, he was aziz in my eyes, honored in my eyes. Why was he honored in the eyes of Ali? صغر الدنيا في عينيه. For the dunya was something small in his eye. وخارج من سلطان بطنه. And he had removed himself from the sovereignty of his stomach. He wasn't governed by his stomach. And so these various tests and trials will come within our lives, and especially in the spiritual journey, as one begins to progress further and further on it. The difficulties and the nuances of this journey become more and more pronounced. Thus far, we have spoken about what is the purpose of dua. We have spoken about gaining that ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we've gained that ma'rifah of Allah, innately the human being knowing the majesty of God, the absolute nature of God, must himself fall into a state of repentance, because he himself realizes that he is nothing. He's not even worthy of sitting in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so instantly he says, Farham abdak al-jahil. Forgive this innocent. Have mercy on this innocent, ignorant slave that sits in front of you. This ignorant slave that has no right to ask from you when you have already given him so much throughout all his life without even having asked from you. The mercy of Allah is such that in Rajab you recited for 29 or 30 days, 5 times a day, Ya man yu'ti al-kathira bil-qalil, Ya man yu'ti man sa'ala, Ya man yu'ti man lam yas'alhu wa man lam ya'rifhu tahannunan minhu wa rahma. Oh, the one that gives a lot in return for something small that is offered to him. Oh, the one that gives to the one that asks from him, and the one that gives to the one that does not ask from him, and the one that gives to the one that does not even acknowledge his existence. Tahannunan minhu wa rahma, out of his ultimate mercy. He is bestowing his mercy upon the whole of existence. Now there are different degrees to that mercy. Some receive a general mercy, but then there is a very specific mercy. And those we will talk about in the latter nights when we come to the discussion of time and place of dua. That what is so important? Why are there certain times? Why are there certain places that are the places and the times of ijabatu dua? That your dua will be accepted or answered in those moments. But now that we've done istighfar, the ground is clear. Now I move into a phase that is known in the spiritual journey as a riyadha. It is the taming of the soul. Riyadha in Arabic, the word riyadha is used for when an animal tamer tames a wild animal and domesticates it. And the Urafa use the word riyadha when it comes to taming the soul, because it is like a wild animal. An individual must grab hold of it and tame it, not kill it. See, this is where there is a fundamental difference between spiritual growth or the spiritual journey in Tashayyu' or in Islam compared to other spiritual practices in other religions. Because there they speak about killing the nafs, killing the soul. But we say no, you don't kill it. You don't kill desire. You tame it, control it, train it, and aim it in the way that will take you towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not about killing the soul, but it's no easy task. Just like it's not an easy task to train and tame a wild animal. And so the soul is the wildest of animals. And before we go on to the particular tool, we'll look at 3 tools that are used, that are spoken about by the Urafa in being able to tame the soul. We need to first understand the nafs. There are 3 categories of the nafs that are spoken about in the Quran and within riwayat. The first is nafs al-ammara. Nafs al-ammara is that carnal self. It's the untrained, uncontrolled, wild self, that wild individual that follows his every desire. Wherever his desires take him, he goes and he follows after it, taking him down the animalistic path. No worse, balhum azal. The Quran says no worse than the animals. They become worse than cattle. But nafs al-ammara itself is broken down into 3 subsections. It too takes 3 different forms depending on your actions. Do not think of this spiritual journey as being something that is static. No, it is fluid. And your soul is constantly in a state of motion, in a constant state of change. And thus your heaven and hell are also in a constant state of flux. It is not a set place that you will go. No, you are creating your heaven and hell simultaneous to your existence here. Every action that you do has a reaction. It is a world of cause and effect. Everything that you do has some sort of reaction somewhere down the line, either in the dunya or in the akhirah. And so the soul is in a fluid state, changing form, changing its form or its state at every point when you do a certain action. So Nafs al-Ammara has three aspects to it. The first, Nafs al-Bahimiyya, the wild, animalistic soul. This is the type of soul that behaves like an animal. It doesn't think through. Whatever it sees, it chases. Whatever it's put in front of it, it eats it. It's uncontrolled. In provocative situations, the individual cannot control their anger, cannot control their desire. They fall prey to it instantly, unable to tame themselves, unable to restrain themselves. It leads to an impulsive person who can't control themselves. You know, like a young child where you tell them, stop talking, don't talk at the back of the masjid, stay quiet, don't, and they can't. You know, they're trying, but they can't. And so when you try and tame that child, if you don't tame them, then they end up being like people who come into the masjid and just constantly talk or be on their phones. No offense to those brothers in the corner there who are all on their phones talking. So, and they're so engrossed in their phones they don't even know I'm talking about them, which is ironic. So, the animalistic, that first nafs al-bahimiyya is impulsive. It does what it wants. It is uncontrolled. It is wild. The second is nafs al-subu'iyya. Now it can transform into the angry animal soul. This is a soul that is driven purely by anger. When angry, the person acts like an animal, lashing out at whoever it is, no care for what the consequences of their actions are. They attack, and at every point, this is the type of person, they say, oh, don't speak to them, they've got a short fuse. It's an angry person. They can't control their anger. And so the more their anger goes out of control, the more their nafs becomes weaker, unable to save themselves, stop themselves from doing any sort of sin. Then the final stage of nafs al-ammara, or the final, I'd say, the descent of nafs al-ammara is to nafs al-shaytaniyah. Now this person's soul becomes devilish. Now this person is doing the job of the devil. It's not that they are the devil. No, they become the shayateen when the Quran says the shayateen from the jinn and from the men. This person begins to become the shaitan from the men, actively stopping people from doing good. Manna'in lil khair. Someone wants to do something good, they come and they stop them and say, no, you don't want to give that charity. You don't want to give any donations here. These guys, they waste the money. Wants to do something good. But this person stops them. For them, at this point, committing sins becomes second nature. They don't think about it anymore. The first time they committed a sin, they felt bad. They regretted it. But now at this point, they don't regret it anymore. They don't regret it. Remember we mentioned about it yesterday as well. They feel no guilt. It is just part and parcel of their personality. They don't really care what anyone thinks. And the more they indulge in that sin, the stronger the demand to do that sin becomes, to the point that they reach addiction levels. They can't break it. They can't break it. We live in a very addictive society, and it feeds this part of the nafs. That addiction, like right now, we're not even talking about drug addiction. That's things that we used to talk about in the 80s and the 90s, right? And now it is there still, unfortunately. I was going to say alhamdulillah, but unfortunately, still there. But now it's gone further into phone addiction, into technology addiction. If someone takes my phone more than 10 meters away from me, I start getting an itch. I'm like, where is it? I start tweaking. I need my phone. I need to be able to see the colors. Because I'm addicted to it. I can't let go of it. I'll sit and but I'm reading Quran on it. Yeah, no, put that aside. Pick up the book and read the Quran. When you pick up the mushaf, it has its own ahkam. It has its own requirements. Try and not read off your phone. Read off the actual book itself, because it will require you to be in wudu. It will require you to, the ayat, when even you look at it, you hear it, you read it, it's better to hold the actual words of Allah in your hand. Hey, side point. The point is that the addiction is so deep that we are now becoming addicted. And it's not just that phone, but it's the content that's coming to me from that phone. Now before my attention span was like 3 minutes, and then it came down to like 2 minutes, and then they brought it down to 1 minute, and now it's like 30 seconds. If you can do something in 30 seconds, that's great, we'll have that. Anything after 30 seconds, I've got to look at my phone. I'm getting distracted because I can't focus. So when it reaches the level of nafs al-shaytani, this individual now, the demand, the pull, the draw of sin is so strong, they can't break it. These are the individuals whose hearts have become rusted. They're so rusted they can no longer cry anymore when they recite dua. They can't cry for the musibah of Imam al-Hussein. That it doesn't happen when they think about their sin. Tears don't fall from their eyes. It's just become rusted. And so they're in a need of polishing the heart, to buff it clean again. And it's only that pure heart that will reflect reality. It's the polished heart that reflects the reality of the divine. It is only the pure heart that speaks that will influence the hearts. If the heart of the one speaking is corrupt, then it will not influence anyone. The pure heart influences the hearts. And so it needs to be polished. We'll talk about that in maybe 2 lectures from now, about the polishing of the heart. So that's nafs al-ammara, with its 3 stages. Next, the Holy Quran refers to the soul, or the station of the soul, or the aspect of the soul known as nafs al-lawama, the blaming soul, or the self-accounting soul. This type of soul is when a person, now when they commit sin, they feel guilty. They'll commit sin, but they'll feel guilty about it. They'll feel guilty, so they'll do istighfar. Sometimes they may act absent-mindedly and commit a sin. And they'll feel bad. Why did I not think? I accidentally committed this sin. And they quickly feel remorse, and they want to change, and they resolve to change. It's a good place for the soul to be. But their spiritual state is unsettled. Sometimes it's in a state of flux, falling into sin, falling out of sin, repenting, coming back into sin, again repenting. They're in a constant state of flux. And the Quran and the Urafa, they warn against this particular state. So don't stay in this state too long. Change yourself. Don't stay in the state of nafs al-lawama, sinning, then asking for forgiveness, then beating yourself up about it, saying, why did I do this? And then saying, I'm going to change, and then going. How many Laylatul Qadrs have we sat and we've said to Allah that we're going to change? How many ziyarat have we gone to and promised Imam al-Hussein, if he gives me this, I promise I'm going to change, but I still go back to the same life. لك العتبى مرة بعد أخرى. Dua al-Hazin after your Salat al-Layl. Over and over, I still do the same sin. Over and over. What's wrong with me? The state of nafs al-lawama. Don't stay in it too long. Be firm in the desire to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you stay in this state too long, you may die in this state. And who knows whether you will die in the state of sin or in the state of having been forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But feeling that guilt after committing sin is a positive sign. If I feel guilty after committing a sin, that's good. But if I know it's a sin, I'm committing it, but I don't feel guilty anymore, that's a problem. That's a big problem. That's when you know you're headed down the wrong place. So the second is nafs al-lawama. The third is known as nafs al-mutma'inna, the soul that is at peace, the content soul, the soul that has full control over its desires and impulses. This is a soul that no longer commits sins. This is the goal of riyadha. This is the goal of the spiritual exercise, to reach nafs al-mutma'inna. Because at that stage, an individual reaches that maqam of radiyatan maradiyya. Not one-sided acceptance or happiness or satisfaction, two-sided. God himself says, do not return back to me, O content soul, except that you are satisfied with my lordship over you, for I am satisfied with your ubudiyya. Ya ayyatuha an-nafs al-mutma'inna, irji'i ila rabbiki radiyatan maradiyya. Come. As Allama Iqbal says, khudi ko kar buland itna कि हर तकदीर से पहले खुदा बंदे से खुद पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. Raise yourself to that level that God himself will ask his servant first, tell me, what is your want? Where does your satisfaction lie? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, come close to me, raise me, and I will consult to you. I'll ask you what you want. This is that level of nafs mutma'inna, reaching that maqam. But there are certain stages that one has to go through to be able to uncover and pass through the realms of these different souls, the different states of the soul. The first stage is known as the purging, takhliya, to purge the soul. To purge the soul of all impurities, purge it of all immorality, purge it out of rudeness, purge from it arrogance, purge from it lying, purge from it jealousy and envy and all of those dark diseases of the soul that drag a person down and pull them further into this dunya. Purge the soul of all immorality. It's the first stage. Adorn the clothing of taqwa. As Sayyid Sajjad says in Du'a Makarimul Akhlaq, إلهي البسني زينة المتقين في بسط العدل وكظم الغيظ وإطفاء النائرة وضم أهل الفرقة. Oh Allah, clothe me in the clothing of the muttaqeen. Dress me in the clothing of the muttaqeen, those that establish justice. في بسط العدل وكظم الغيظ, and swallow the anger, وإطفاء النائرة, and extinguish the flame of hatred within their heart. وضم أهل الفرقة, and they bring together those that are disunited. We will talk about community in the later nights and how the du'as of Ahlul Bayt turn to plural in this month of Ramadan especially. But the importance of bringing a community together, extinguishing hatred from our hearts. We carry around so much hate in our hearts for people. This person looked at me funny. This person burped in my way 20 years ago. This person sneezed. This person took my parking spot. I usually sit there. They sat there. And I hold a grudge for the rest of my life. This person didn't let, I don't know, something happened that I wanted to go. This EC member said no, and the whole 5-10 years I'll hold a grudge against someone. This is a disease of the soul. It will not allow you to ascend. If you hold even 1 ounce of malice towards a mu'min, not 1 ounce, 1 grain's worth of malice towards another mu'min, you will not be able to enter. In fact, the Holy Prophet says that the one who hurts a mu'min, walau bishatr al-kalima, even to the extent of 1 word, it is as if he has destroyed the Kaaba itself. And he has killed hundreds of thousands of angels. And on the day of judgment, he will be tied up and it will be inscribed between his eyebrows, Ayasim min rahmatillah. This person is removed from the mercy of God. For what? 1 word that hurt a mu'min. How many years of hate do we carry around? Remove immorality. The stage of takhliyah is to remove immorality, the immoral thought. Remove sin from my life. Purge it from my soul. Purge it from my daily actions. It is only then that I can ascend. And once I've purged my actions, purge my thoughts, then purge my attachments. For every single thing, every single sin, it emanates from an attachment to this dunya. The Holy Prophet says, جمود العين من قسوة القلوب وكسوة القلوب من كثرة الذنوب وكثرة الذنوب من نسيان الموت ونسيان الموت من طول الأمل وطول الأمل من حب الدنيا وحب الدنيا رأس كل خطيئة. He says that the dryness of your eyes, the fact you can't cry in dua, the fact that you can't cry for Imam al-Hussein is from the dirt and the rust of your heart. And the dirt and the rust of your heart is from your excessive sin. And your excessive sin is because you forgot that you will die. And you forgetting you will die is because you have set long, far-fetched hopes for yourself, as if you will live in this world forever. And your long, far-fetched hopes are linked to your love of the dunya. وَحُبُّ الدُّنْيَا رَأْسُ كُلِّ خَطِيئَةٍ. And the love of this world is the root of every single evil. Everything comes from that. And this is why Amir al-Mu'mineen in Munajat Sha'baniyah, he says, إلهي هب لي كمال الانقطاع إليك وأنر أبصار قلوبنا بضياء نظرها إليك حتى تخرق أبصار القلوب حجب النور فتصلها إلى معدن العظمة. Says, my Lord, allow me to completely cut off from everything that seeks to distract me from you, such that the eyes of my heart illuminate and they're able to gaze upon your majesty, piercing through the curtains that separate me from you, illuminated, reaching the point where I am now gazing upon your absolute majesty. Purge the soul so that you can ascend. This is the first stage. And when souls are not purged, then this leads to the worst of human beings. When souls are not purged, this leads to a human being becoming worse than the animals. And it leads to the atrocities that we saw in the land of Karbala. How many atrocities were committed upon Imam al-Hussein and upon his family. The greatest madhlumiyat of Abu Abdullah is this, that he knew exactly what it was that would happen after him. He knew the difficulties that his family would face. He knew of the difficulties that would be faced by his 4-year-old daughter. How attached she was to Abu Abdullah. Every stage, even when Imam al-Hussein was going out for the last time, she ran and she held on to the legs of the horse. Do not take my father out. She was so attached to him. And when the horse returned, saddle askew, head covered in blood, the first question this young girl asked the horse of her father, she said, "Oh, loyal steed of my father, tell me one thing. Before they killed my father, did they allow him to drink anything or not?" This daughter of Abu Abdullah, how many difficulties she faced. From Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham, until that night when she awakens from her dream crying for her father. They say to her, "What is it?" She says, "I just saw my father, Abu Abdullah, in my dream. He was just here. Where is my father?" How can they explain to the 4-year-old Sakina or Ruqayya that where her father is? They're saying to her, "Your father is in Karbala." She says, "No, I saw my father now." The women began to cry. Yazid is informed. He says, "Take the head of Hussein to the girl." This was not an act of mercy by Yazid, who gives the severed head of a father to his 4-year-old daughter. They brought the head in on a tray. They gave it to the girl. She ran forward. This was the head that she had been wanting from the night of Sham Ghariban until this point, but no one would allow her to hold the head of her father. And now the moment she gets the head of Abu Abdullah, she begins to address it. "Abata man alladhi aytamani ala sighri sinni." Father, tell me who orphaned me at such a young age. "Abata man alladhi qata'a waridak." Father, tell me who severed the veins of your neck. Father, tell me who covered your face in blood. Father, laytani kuntu amya wa lam ara ra'saka hakadha. Father, how I wish I was blind on this day, that I would not have to see your head in this state. They say she lay down on the ground talking to her father, telling him of everything that had happened. Then the Maqtal says, ثُمَّ وَضَعَ فَمَهَا عَلَى فَمِهِ الشَّرِيفِ. She placed her lips on the lips of her father. At that point, the Maqtal says, ثُمَّ مَاتَتْ. The girl's soul left her body. Sajjad comes forward. He sees the head on one side, the girl lying on the other. He calls out, "Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un." وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيُّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Ya Allah, for the sake of these tears, of the sake of the loneliness of the 4-year-old daughter of Aba Abdullah, Ya Allah, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Ya Allah, keep safe the Shia of Ali Muhammad around the world. Ya Allah, destroy the enemies of Tashayyu in whichever form they may come. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Aba Abdullah this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Ali Muhammad this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq for Hajj and Umrah this year and every year. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadreen, his true waiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite 3 of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا خير خلق الله محمد بن عبد الله صلى الله عليه وآله. السلام عليك وعلى أخيك وابن عمك أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك وعلى بضعتك الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك وعلى سبطيك سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. السلام على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين زين العابدين ومحمد بن علي باقر علم النبيين وجعفر بن محمد الصادق وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم وعلي بن موسى الرضا ومحمد بن علي الجواد وعلي بن محمد الهادي والحسن بن علي العسكري. والصلاة والسلام عليك يا سيدي يا صاحب الزمان وخليفة الرحمن وشريك القرآن. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآله